But like traditionally, what one does then is to imagine from the merit field in front of us, right? The central figure is this particular merit field. It's Lama Tsongkhapa, our guru, right? Is there in the middle, in the form of Lama Tsongkhapa. Technically, with in this prayer it said with Vajradhara in his heart. Right? So again, it's up to you of how elaborate you want to be. But in general, what one does is imagines an emanation of that figure coming to the crown of one's head. And so imagine just above the crown of your head is a lotus. And on that lotus is your guru, in the form, in this case, of Lama Tsongkhapa, with Vajradhara in his heart. And for meditating on reliance on the spiritual teacher, traditionally, that so one thinks, okay, this Lama Vajradhara, Lama Tsongkhapa, my guru, or inseparable, on the crown of my head. And then one imagines from his heart, light rays radiate out kind of in front of you, and each of your own personal lamas or spiritual friend, your guru, is sort of there then. You imagine that he emanates the actual forms, and if they're, whether they're alive now or if they've passed away, they're in their own form, the form that they were in when they were your teacher, if they passed away. And so, again, depending on your ability to visualize, but for this topic of reliance on the spiritual teacher, so there's sort of the merit field where it imagines that oneself is sitting and meditating, surrounded by all mother sentient beings. Still in front of us is the merit field, with all those figures that were described in the Guru Puja. Then on one's crown is, they sometimes call this figure Lama Lobsang Tupwang Dorje Chang, which means, what it really means is that one's own Lama, Lama Tsongkhapa, Shakyamuni Buddha, and Vajradhara are inseparable in that figure. And then emanating from his heart are all of your own personal teachers in their ordinary appearance, their sort of human form. And then one can, next, traditionally, before we actually start the formal structure of the topics, one sort of says a prayer to the guru atop one's head. Use this structure. So in this case, well, actually, there's not one for this topic. So one would think, okay, my first meditation topic right now is going to be the 8 benefits of properly relying on the spiritual teacher. So now one turns to the guru atop one's head and says, so, please bless me to be able to realize these 8 benefits exactly and precisely and correctly and completely. In that way, help me, please, to progress along the path described in the stages of the path to enlightenment, so that I may quickly, like you, attain the state of Vajradhara, or the Buddha, of full enlightenment. Please bless my mind. And then the guru atop your crown is very pleased with you, right, because you're meditating on the path to enlightenment. And so from his body, 5 colored light rays radiate down through your crown into your body. Like white, blue, red, green, and yellow. Completely like filling your body with light. And then along those light rays, also nectar of those same 5 colors kind of pours down along those light rays. That nectar is also made of, it's kind of light nectar of the 5 wisdoms. And it completely fills your body up with nectar. So that your body now is kind of like a rainbow, a 5-colored rainbow filled with light and nectar, which is the Guru blessing you to be able to realize the meditation topic we're engaging in. And so then now we'll actually meditate or contemplate. We're going to do what we call analytical meditation on these 8 benefits of proper reliance on the spiritual teacher. And so in a way, as we're beginning to contemplate, right, this is like sort of, so we'll think, right, okay, so on the crown of my head is my guru. Each of my spiritual teachers, whether I have one or many, are emanated in front of me. So the question in this first topic is, so why should I rely on them? Why should I practice reliance on them? So the first reason, right, the first benefit taught in the stages of the path, is that by doing so, I myself will come closer to enlightenment. So this is quite clear, right? In other words, these teachers of mine teach the path to enlightenment. That's why, in what sense are they a teacher? Is that they teach the path to enlightenment. So if I rely upon them, and I practice what they've taught, then that's the main way of progressing to enlightenment. So for sure, right, by relying on them, that's the way to progress to enlightenment. That's a benefit of that. And many different teachings say, right, many teachings of the Buddha in all 3 vehicles say that relying upon a spiritual teacher is essential to progressing towards enlightenment. Actually, even in the lesser vehicle, actually, it says that very clearly, that if one wants to progress towards that individual liberation, one has to rely upon a spiritual teacher. Then in the Mahayana teachings, such as the Perfection of Wisdom, it clearly says that reliance upon a spiritual teacher is absolutely essential to progressing towards enlightenment. Actually, like, as we're contemplating this, right, now we're using both reasons, right, like, in other words, like that the teacher teaches the path to enlightenment, so of course practicing that is the way to progress. And then also scripture. So we think from the Mahayana point of view, we can remember that in the 8,000 verse teaching of the Perfection of Wisdom by the Buddha, there's the example of the always crying Bodhisattva, Satta Prarodita. And how even though he had visions of, he was somebody at a spiritual level where he had like visions of Buddhas and could sort of communicate with them, still there's a long story in the 8,000 verse Perfection of Wisdom that says that he went in search with much hardship for a guru, not an emanation of light of a Buddha, but an actual guru, as a person to teach him the path to enlightenment. And he devoted very well to that teacher. And in that way, although it usually takes like 2 countless great eons to progress from the beginning of the path up to the 8th bhumi, that he did that in one life by relying well on his spiritual teacher. And there are many stories like that in Mahayana scriptures of how bodhisattvas mainly progress on the path by relying upon a spiritual teacher. So if they did that in the past, I definitely have to do that now. There's no other way for me to progress towards enlightenment, the full enlightenment of Buddhahood. And then in particular, also in the Vajrayana, that's emphasized very strongly. So if I'm interested in practicing that, then what's true in the general Mahayana is even more explicitly true in the Vajrayana. In the Vajrayana teachings, there are so many verses that basically say that the way to achieve enlightenment quickly is reliance upon the spiritual teacher. Even in the Guru Puja we just read, it says like that relying upon the that by relying upon the Guru one can achieve enlightenment in an instant. Actually, we read that just now. An instant in that sense means in one human life, which goes by like it's an instant. So from many different perspectives, it's true that I will come closer to enlightenment due to relying upon these spiritual teachers of mine who I'm seeing in front of me. As we meditate, it may begin to feel like, actually, that's enough benefit. In one sense, wow, if that were the only benefit, then yes, that makes sense to rely upon them for my spiritual practice. But that's not the only benefit. So a second benefit described is that by relying upon them, you delight all the conquerors, all the Buddhas. And so there are many teachings like this. I think it's Nagarjuna who said, actually there are numerous masters who said things like this, that from now on when I make offerings, I'll make offerings to the Guru. And Lama Zopa Rinpoche teaches like that, right? Even when you make offerings to a stupa, think you're making offerings to your Guru. When you make offerings to the Buddha, statue of the Buddha, think you're making offerings to the Guru. The reason being that the Guru, right, is our way of relating to all the Buddhas. And the teachings say that when I relate properly to my Guru, then all the Buddhas are manifest in the form of the Guru. That when I make offerings to my Guru, then all the Buddhas accept those offerings. Also, when I rely properly, in other words, all the Buddhas, what do they want, actually? This is also a reason, right? What do all the Buddhas want? They want all sentient beings to achieve enlightenment. So that means they want me to achieve enlightenment. But I don't have the karma to see them directly. So how can I please the Buddhas? How? By progressing to enlightenment. Mainly it's by relying upon my spiritual teacher. So when I rely properly on the spiritual teacher, then all the Buddhas throughout the 10 directions, throughout the infinite universe, infinite numbers of Buddhas, are pleased and rejoice. Because they see that I, who am like their child, am progressing towards enlightenment. So actually the supreme way of pleasing all the conquerors, all the Buddhas, is proper reliance on the spiritual teacher. So now I know, right? Just by relying upon my spiritual teacher, I'll progress towards enlightenment, and I make all the Buddhas of the 10 directions of in infinite space incredibly joyful. And not only that, but there's a third benefit of properly relying on my spiritual teacher. Now when it says, I won't be harmed by demons or bad companions. There's one sutra that says, "It is difficult for karma and afflictive emotions to get the best of bodhisattvas who are thoroughly cared for by spiritual guides." So in other words, by properly relying upon my spiritual teacher, my guru, my lama, I create like so much merit, and I come close to all the Buddhas, and so I'm protected. It can be, in this one, demons, right? It could mean outer demons, like so evil spirits, or I'm protected from them. But the main demons are our own afflictive emotions, our own anger, hatred, desire, and ignorance. So, those demons are very difficult actually to be safe from, because up till now I've been possessed by them. But it's only by relying upon my spiritual teacher that I become safe, because he or she guides me away from those inner demons of hatred, pride, and jealousy, and so on. Also, the influence of outer bad companions. Right? It's easy for me, because I'm immature spiritually, to be led astray by negative friends or negative companions. But if I rely upon a spiritual teacher, then I have an example, role model, a sort of positive influence in my life that keeps me from going in the wrong directions. So I feel at this point I definitely want to rely upon my spiritual teacher. There's so many benefits. Progressing towards full enlightenment, pleasing and delighting and causing bliss in all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, not being harmed by the inner or outer negative influences. Not only that, there's a fourth benefit, which is that all of my afflictive emotions and unwholesome behaviors will naturally stop. And so it's actually, right, if we contemplate that, my own experience, right? You have to each contemplate like that. Like, I've been so controlled by afflictive emotions and by bad habits. And the truth is, right, that alone, if I just only relying upon myself, without any guidance, then I'm just lost. If I don't have guidance, if I don't have a mentor, if I don't have a spiritual friend to guide me, a spiritual guide, then forever I'll be caught up in my own bad habits, my own afflictive emotions. But if I rely properly upon a spiritual teacher, that's exactly what they teach, right? Their precise teaching is how to overcome my afflictive emotions, my bad habits. And if I rely upon them, then negative, afflictive emotions and bad habits that seemed impossible to change, definitely will change, because of that relationship with my spiritual teacher. And I know, right, to contemplate this one, I know that the only way I can have mental peace, mental happiness, is by overcoming my own afflictive emotions. So by relying upon my spiritual teacher, then I get mental peace. If I care about myself, then I have to rely upon my spiritual teacher to give myself that kind of peace and freedom. If I care about others, then also I have to rely upon my spiritual teacher. Because if my mind's not peaceful, then not only will I not help others, I'll actually harm them, even if I don't want to. Even if at the beginning I think I'd like to help them, then because my own mind is confused and agitated, I'll actually cause them harm. So for my own sake and for the sake of others, definitely I want to rely upon my spiritual teacher, or my spiritual teachers. There's so many benefits. And these benefits are not small. They benefit me in this life, they benefit me in future lives, they benefit me all the way up to the achievement of enlightenment. So you begin to feel, wow, there's nothing more important in my life then devoting or relating properly to the Lama, to the Guru. Then not only that, but there's a fifth benefit, which is that all of the realizations of the stages and paths increase by relying upon my spiritual teacher. And there are so many stories like that in the Buddhist tradition. Like quite famous, it's one famous story that's often told here about like a disciple who like was serving Atisha, and how he achieved this higher levels of the stages and path than people who are in strict retreat. Because the main way to progress is by relating properly to the spiritual teacher. If I relate properly to my spiritual teacher, then, even in this life, I'll start to experience those kinds of progress along the path. Actually, many different teachers have said that, right? That's the main, the two main things to progress are, one is relating properly to the spiritual teacher, right? And the other is just familiarizing oneself with the path, and then the realizations just come naturally. So actually there's nothing more important for progressing along the path in this way and sort of achieving the various levels of it. Whatever level is next for me, the main way I can progress to that is relying upon these teachers right here. Not someone else, but the ones I see in front of me, emanated from, the Guru had taught my head. If I relate to them in the way taught in Lamrim, then definitely that's the fastest, most effective way to progress. And I will achieve the various levels of progress that allow me to become a bodhisattva, and then progress along the bodhisattva path, to be of great benefit to others. So again, as one contemplates these, the idea is one starts to feel like a great enthusiasm. Well, all I really want then is to rely properly on my spiritual teacher. It's so precious. The opportunity to do so is the most precious thing. So it starts to feel like that much, it's much more beneficial to me than like winning the lottery or some other, suddenly getting millions of dollars or something like that. Actually, that won't help me. If I suddenly won millions of dollars, that wouldn't help me to progress to enlightenment necessarily. It might make me more attached and stressed out. Wouldn't give me mental peace. Wouldn't protect me from outer or inner afflictive emotions, outer and inner demons. It wouldn't delight all the Buddhas. They don't care about that. It wouldn't decrease, it wouldn't cause my bad habits to stop. It wouldn't cause me to progress along the stages of path. So actually, this is, this is much more exciting. The opportunity to rely properly is much more exciting than some kind of outer good fortune, a seeming good fortune that may not even be good fortune. The real good fortune is that, right, is what gives me mental peace, what allows me to progress towards enlightenment, which benefits myself and all sentient beings. This is what I want to dedicate my energy to. the sixth benefit is that if I rely properly upon my spiritual teachers in this life, then in all my future lives I won't be deprived of having spiritual teachers. So in other words, by relying properly in this life, then in all my future lives I'll meet perfectly qualified, compassionate spiritual guides, and they'll lead me to enlightenment. The more skillfully I relate to my spiritual teachers in this life, the more powerful the karma is for future lives, where I'll meet flawless spiritual guides who have all the 10, the lists of qualities, right? All those different positive qualities. If I relate properly in this life, then I'll meet those kind of teachers in future lives, and I won't be bereft of guidance. So it's a great benefit for me in all my future lives, which will allow me to progress upon the path so effectively. In that way also, in future lives, I'll be able to meet spiritual guides when I'm young and hear the complete teachings of the path to enlightenment and practice very effectively. So the main way for me to have that karmic result is by creating the cause. The cause of that in this life is relating properly to these spiritual teachers who I imagine in front of me. While I'm on the topic of future lives, the seventh benefit is that I won't fall to lower realms. So there are many different teachings for the time of death, but actually reliance upon my spiritual teacher at the time of death, in this life and at the time of death, is unsurpassed. So if I relate properly to my spiritual teacher in this life, then it's guaranteed actually that I'll have good future rebirth. And if I think of them at the time of death, that relationship actually goes beyond this life. And so I'll be protected. It's guaranteed I won't go to the lower realms. Actually, as we contemplate this one, we can think, right? Honestly, right? If at the time of my death, when death is about to hit me, if I think of anyone else, like loved ones, whether it's like spouse or children or parents, it will actually lead to attachment, which is a cause for rebirth in lower realms. Right? But if I think of my spiritual teacher who embodies all the Buddhas, that relationship is not a relationship of just this life. It's a spiritual relationship that goes on with me into death and into future lives, and that provides safety, refuge, guidance, compassion, love, all the way until I'm a Buddha. So if I rely properly and have a good relationship to my spiritual teacher, then I don't have to fear death, actually. In a sense, that's the one relationship that allows me not to face death alone. And the eighth benefit is that all of my temporary and ultimate goals will be accomplished. And so with this one actually starts to feel, there's a verse that Lama Tsongkhapa taught. The foundation of all good qualities is the kind and venerable guru. Correct devotion to them is the root of the path. So one starts to feel, as one contemplates this last of the 8 points, like really the way a child, like a young child who has a good relationship with their mother feels. One starts to feel in relation to the guru, like everything good in my life, and this life and future lives comes from my relationship with you. The foundation of all good qualities. One feels like even the fact that I have this kind of life with the human body must be the result of your kindness to me and guidance to me in past lives. All the good things that have happened to me in this life came from good karma from past lives. It was you who guided me in the past to create the karmic causes so I could have this life. And then in this life, like all the progress, any good qualities I have of love, of compassion, of kindness, of patience, surely come from my relationship with you, my spiritual teachers. If I'm going to have good future lives, it comes from practicing the teachings you've taught me. On the stages of the path to enlightenment. If I'm going to make progress, first of all, even just having a good future life comes from following, from relating properly to your teachings, from practicing them. If I'm going to have comfort and safety in future lives, that comes from practicing properly with you. If I'm going to progress and achieve peace of mind, that comes from your teaching. If I'm going to progress and become a bodhisattva, totally dedicated to the welfare of others, there's no chance I'll do that without following your teachings. It's only by following your teachings on how to generate bodhicitta that I'll do that. If I'm going to progress to realize emptiness, absolutely won't happen without following your teachings. But it'll definitely happen by relating properly to my spiritual teachings. If I want to progress through the various stages and paths up to Buddhahood, definitely won't happen by relying upon my own ego, but will surely happen, will definitely, without any doubt happen by relying upon perfectly qualified Mahayana spiritual guide. And even my future attainment of Buddhahood itself definitely comes from relying upon the spiritual guide. Even Shakyamuni Buddha himself became a Buddha because in the past he had relied upon previous Buddhas and followed their teachings. So if I want to become a Buddha in the future, there's no way to do that without relying upon my spiritual teacher. But I will definitely achieve it by relying. If I want to practice the general Mahayana and achieve enlightenment over a series of many lifetimes, I can do that by relying upon my spiritual teacher. If I want to achieve enlightenment quickly in just a few lifetimes or even in this very life, absolutely the only way to do that is properly relying upon my spiritual teacher. So all worldly and all super-mundane or transcendental positive things come about by relying upon my spiritual teacher. So one sort of will kind of gradually conclude this first meditation by sort of coming to a conclusion, which is one sort of feels something like, wow, I'm like even to learn this, even to understand like how to progress by relying upon the spiritual teacher, I'm unbelievably fortunate. It's like a miracle that I've met Mahayana spiritual teachers. There's so much humongous benefit to me and to others if I rely properly upon the spiritual teacher. So this is the most important thing. Like one feels all I want to do is rely properly. If I make mistakes in other things, that's fine. But this is one where I don't want to make mistakes because it's so amazing, so wonderful. The benefits are humongous, or infinite actually. Everything I want, and even the things I'm not wise enough yet to want, come from this kind of proper reliance upon the spiritual teacher. It's like finding the greatest treasure without much effort. So definitely, my resolution, my heartfelt wish, my commitment is I'm going to meditate and practice the teachings on how to rely properly upon the spiritual friend, spiritual guide, because that's the greatest benefit to me and to others around me, and to all beings. This is like the most important thing for me to practice. I feel great enthusiasm, almost like excitement to practice this teaching, because it brings so much humongous, almost unimaginable benefit.